Hey guys, welcome to the first SAT Math No Calculator Part 1, where I'm going to go over SAT math questions and explain them in detail. Alright, so before I begin, I just wanted to emphasize that a lot of these SAT math questions are pretty easy. It's just the method you use can be a little bit difficult, but overall it's pretty easy. So 3 things to remember is substitute. That's one way you can solve a problem. Substitution is the best way actually. Read the problem, listen to what it's asking, go from the answers to the questions sometimes. That also makes it easier. So let's start with number 1. So question number 1 is asking, if x minus 1 over 3 is equal to k and k equals 3, what is the value of x? So now here, we know that k equals 3. So the best way to solve this problem would be substitution. So we have x minus 1 over 3 equals k. Now k we know equals 3, so we can just say equals 3. From here we're just using normal algebra, so we can multiply by 3 on both sides. That way we can get rid of this denominator. Then we have x minus 1 equals 9. And then we can add 1 to both sides, and then we know that x equals 10. So therefore we know the value of x equals d. So d would be our correct answer choice for this one. Now let's keep going. Number 2. So number 2 says where I equals this, find what is the sum. So sum means we're adding these. So we have one with no variable and we have one with a variable. So obviously you add the non-variables together and the variables together. So that means 7 plus negative 8 is negative 1, and 3i plus 9i equals plus 12i. So therefore for this question it would be a negative 1 plus 12i. And we didn't have to substitute this because the answer choice we were given. If this answer choice wasn't given, then okay, we would try this step to see if that would work. Alright, now let's go to this question. So on Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M texts messages for each hour for 5 hours. So each hour for 5 hours means she said 5 texts, M texts. Tyron sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyron on a Saturday afternoon? So before we get started, this is kind of easy. You can't add 5 plus 4 because 5 is for Armand and 4 is for Tyron. So this would cancel and this would cancel because you can't do 5 times 4 either. Tyron is separate and Armand are separate. They're 2 different variables. Now the only question is which coefficient would we use? So since we know Armand is M and it says 5 hours, we can say 5m, and then we know Tyron is P, 4p, so we'd say 4p. So our answer would be C to figure out the total number of messages. Alright, let's keep going. So this next question is actually pretty easy. People usually get scared because it's long, but it's actually one of the easiest questions in the SAT. So Kathy is a repair technician for a photo company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of the day can be estimated with the equation P equals 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left and D is the number of days she has worked that week. So what is the meaning of 108? So we know 108 is the constant, and she says the number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of the day can be estimated. And it says here she receives a batch of phones that need repairs each week. So we could say 108 is a fixed day. So obviously we'll complete within 100 days doesn't make sense, right? This doesn't have a rate. It can't be a rate because it doesn't even have a variable with it. So it's not a rate at all. So we're only left with B. And that's correct because she starts each week with 108 phones to fix. And according to this, it says each week she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. And that 108 is the value she has in the beginning. And then each day she's subtracting from that because by the end of the week, she should be done with all her phones. All right. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's go to this one. So which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So we have this expression, and as you can see, we are subtracting. So therefore, we are going to see which one are like terms, and we use those to add or subtract. So we have x squared y and x squared y, and we have two of these, but a plus and plus together makes, a minus and minus together makes a plus, so then we have 2x squared y, and then we have negative 3y squared, and another negative 3y squared here, but since there's a minus here and a minus here, those also become plus as well. So it would be negative 3y squared plus 3y squared, which means it would eventually cancel. That's what happens here. And then here we have 5xy squared minus 3xy squared. So to subtract them, we'd have plus 2xy squared. So far we have everything we need. And now, those are our final answer because we have no other choices. So this doesn't work, this doesn't work. Then we have C. And then this one is gone too. The reason why this wouldn't work is because negative 3y squared minus 3y squared basically means it'll go to 0. All right, number 6. So, a pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height, h, of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age in years between ages 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of the body's height each year? So we know this is a constant, so we don't need to worry about that, okay? We know that's a constant, so for sure we don't need to worry about that. So that's just going to stay the same. What the question's asking is based on what is the estimated increase in inches of the boy's height each year. Now, to figure this out, this is actually the most easiest one, okay? So in terms of the boy's age, we would know. So each time you're multiplying by 3, as you notice. So it'd be, if I plug in 2, right? At first, I'm plugging in 2, that would be 6. If I plug in 3, that would be 9. If I plug in 4, that would be 12. Let's pretend this constant wasn't there. And if I plug in 5, it'd be 15. So as you can see, each year, you're for sure noticing that it's going to increase by 3. So A would have to be your answer because it's 3 times the boy's age. So 3 times 4, 3 times 5, 3 times 6. So each year, you're for sure increasing by 3. All right. Now let's go to this question. So the formula above gives the monthly M needed to pay off a loan of P dollars, which of the at R% annual interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of MRN? So we're just rewriting this equation so that it's in terms of P. So we know P is over here. So first, obviously, you would have to take this and you would multiply it on both sides. So you'd have this times M, right? When I cancel it out. Okay? So I'm just going to write that. I'm going to make this entire thing equal to A because it's just easier. So I don't have to write the whole thing. I'm just going to write it here. So let's say A, M equals, and then we have this part, and we're going to make that R, RP. Next, we're going to divide by R because I want to get P by itself. So we have P equals A, M over R, and A is the bottom part and R is the top part. So we'd have to find the equation that matches that. So when we're looking through all the equations, we can see that B is the actual one that works because B, this is A, and then there's R, and then we have M, so B would have to work. So in most times, it may take a lot of time to write these numbers out, so the best way is to make it equal to some variable like R and A like I did, or anything easier for you because you want to do it as quick as possible because you don't have that much time. All right, let's keep going. All right, this one's pretty straightforward too. If A over B equals 2, what is the value of 4B over A? Okay, so the best way to do this is to substitute. So we're going to first solve this for A to make it simpler. So it'd be A equals 2B because I multiply by B on both sides, so it gets rid of the denominator. Then I can plug it in. So I have 4B over 2B, right? And then I can cancel out the B's, and I get 4 over 2, which is equal to 2. So C. All right, let's keep going. All right, what is the solution xy to the system of equations above? So we're trying to find a solution for the system of equations. So for this, the best way to do it is, as I talked about first, always try to find a way to substitute. If you can't substitute, then do some other type way, but my way is always to substitute because that's the best way. So actually here, better than substitution is elimination. If you know in system equations, you can eliminate, substitute, if you remember. So that's what we're going to do here. So first we're going to have to distribute, which means that we have 3x plus 4y equals negative 293, right? But I want to get rid of the 3x per se and just have y's. Then I would have to multiply this by 3 because I want this to become a 3x. So then I'll have negative 3x plus 6y equals negative 57. Now I would have to add, because if I add, then I would get rid of this. Then I would have 10y equals negative, I believe it is 80. And then we have y equals negative 8. And now we know that the only one with y equals negative 8 is b, but we should always check to make sure that this also works too. So the best way to solve is just plug it back in. So you have 9 minus 32, right? And I plug in 3 for x here, and I plug in negative 8 for y here. And that gives me negative 383. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to do 6 plus, not plus, sorry. So then I plug in 3. I plugged in the wrong values, my bad. I plug in negative 8 here, so I get negative 16 minus 3, and that gives me negative 19. So we know for sure that both those values work, so it would be B. Alright, the last question in part 1 is number 10. And I'll do the second half in the next video. So for function g defined above, a is a constant. So a is constant, nothing happens. G of 4 equals 8. What is the value of g negative 4? So the best way to do this is to plug in 4, solve for a, then plug in negative 4. So we'd have a, and then we plug in 4 for x, because that's basically g of x, right? And so that gives us 16 plus 24 equals 8. And now the only way you can get 8 here is if you have a negative value for a. And the only value that it would work here is negative 1, because 24 minus 16 is 8. So we have negative 1. But remember, that's not our answer for sure, because we're not trying to find the a value, we're trying to find g of negative 4. So now we can plug in, we know this is a is negative 1, then we can plug in negative 4 here, squared, plus 24. And then we have 16 here, obviously, so it'd be negative 16 plus 24. And as you can notice, this one would also give you 8. So a would equal 10 would equal 8. Alright, so thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions or any of the SAT questions that you have, please put them down below, or any tips or tricks you want. Alright, and thank you so much, and goodbye.